Hey guys, Double Jack here. First of all, I want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you relate to. Hope you're having a great time with your friends and family today, or you've had a great time. And yeah, hope you got what you wanted. Hope you're just enjoy your day, or hope you've enjoyed your day. Hope you enjoy the rest of your holidays. Next up, I want to talk about two things. First of all, an update on my Eyes of Heaven subslations. I'm just going to call it that for short. My translated subs. That might be easier actually. Well, anyway, my translated subs for the Eyes of Heaven story mode. Chapter 2, 100% coming out tomorrow, the 26th of December. Chapter 3 is probably going to come out most likely on Monday, the 28th. Now, the consequent videos, Chapter 4 onwards, that's why I'm definitely doing them all. Chapter 4 onwards are going to be coming out either a day off or 2 days off. So basically, if Chapter 3 comes out on the Monday, then Chapter 4 is either going to come out on the Wednesday or Thursday, and so on and so forth. So that's definitely happening, I can promise you that. I'm putting my ass into overgear. I couldn't this week because of the hectic schedule before Christmas, and also with Christmas as well. So yeah, I hope you understand. I do apologise for the lateness on Chapter 2 and other chapters. Anyway, let's move on to a big part of something. Now, last week is when Ultra Jump came out, and I read it on the day, and I read everything JoJo in there, and I read some other mangas that I like, and I just want to, it's an amazing chapter. You got to check it out. It's bloody amazing. But I do want to talk about a little interview conducted by Shueisha with Matsuyama Hiroshi from CyberConnect 2 about Eyes of Heaven, because it had some really damn juicy details. Not even joking, some amazing details. So there's a few, there's just talking about the main game as it is, but then there are 3 pieces of information that are just immense. Just like crazy, and I've not really checked the internet, so it might be there somewhere, but I don't know if it's really been talked about, and therefore I wanted to talk about it here. First of all, number 1, it turns out that Eyes of Heaven was actually going to have 3 story modes. Now, it doesn't really go into it, it just says there was going to be 3 story modes, but they were worried about a last boss. So it doesn't explain if these 3 story modes are connected to each other, or it's like literally there's the last boss for all 3 are the same, or whatever, it's nothing. Well, it turns out that CyberConnect 2 went to Araki Hirohiko and talked to him, and they basically asked him advice, like how can we do this, because you've got Araki Hirohiko, who's not really a gamer, he doesn't know too much about gaming and stuff like that, but he can make epic stories, whereas CyberConnect 2, they make epic games. And so they wanted to, of course they're collaborating, so they wanted the advice of Araki Hirohiko, who's supervising of course, and he just turned around, in the interview he says that Araki Hirohiko just turned around and said, what if you make Dio the last boss and just make it like a single kind of deal, like whatever you do, but make Dio's in like the last boss in the story, since he's like technically the last boss from parts 1 to part 6 technically, as well as and Diego Brando, you can't mess with him. So that's what they've done, and so that was thanks to Araki Hirohiko. I mean, he was supposed to be the only supervising, but it turns out that he actually had a big impact on that, which is awesome. Now, the next bit is connected to the 3rd piece of information, which is really fucking big, baby! And that is that, did you know, Eyes of Heaven, true fact, was going to have 160 characters. And when I mean characters, I mean playable characters. 160. And in those 160, we were going to get Tarkus and Bradford. That's right. A tag team that we didn't get in the end game. And yeah, it's kind of disappointing, but they explained why. So before they started their concept about all the characters, they were just writing in characters what they can get. And they got 160 in total. Now, what they thought about all the characters, how they could create them in this 3D kind of like game. And they thought of all the different systems and stuff, and what they had to do is they had to see about, like, not just will this system work in game, but will this system collide with this system in a bad way and cause glitches, or will it just, like, will this one character be overpowered, will this character be super undernerfed, like you could choose this character and then have one other character, and this one character, every time he's pitted against this one character, he gets destroyed, like there's no way to beat him. They had to actually balance it, so they had to cut it from 160 to 120, then further to 100, from 120 to 80, then finally from 80 to what we have now is 53 characters. But they actually cut it to more than that. And the truth is that we actually had a few more characters in the game in different areas. When I mean areas, I mean number 1, he states we had more people from Moriocho. So Moriocho, it could be a lot of characters from Diamond, it could be a lot of characters from JoJolion. We don't know. It could be a lot of minor characters It could have been like Mikitaka. It could have been, the Yanagi Ken, the Rock Scissors Paper Kid. Or, on the other hand, it could have been Yasuho, or it could have been Norisuke as actual playable, even Yagiyama possibly. But it turns out that they had to cut a lot of characters. They had to cut them without thinking about their skill sets. They just cut them out. After that, one person that got to the concept stage was Ringo Road again. He was nearly in the game. Ringo Road again, they got to the concept stage, so they were thinking about ideas and stuff. He never made it into a 3D model. He never made it. They were just thinking about it and stuff, and then they probably realised that Mandem's 6-second kind of 6-second style action might be difficult, cause glitches or problems, whatever, but they didn't put him into the next part. Now, the one character that was the closest to making it, that has a 3D model, yes, even in the game, you can check it out at one part of the game. I won't say what, because it's technically not a spoiler, but just in case some people do care about that, I won't say. But yes, his 3D model is in the game, even though it does look unfinished, doesn't look very polished, but it's in the game. Was Abakio. Abakio had up to a semi-skill set. Now, Abakio's kind of a skill, they were going to create a new system for him with Moody Blues. And what Moody Blues was going to be is he wasn't actually going to fight. He was going to be more of a support, where when people, for example, let's say the two people are beating up Abakio's partner, you could go over to the place where where your partner's getting beaten up, and you could actually replay some of the attacks. So these attacks actually happen to the opponent. So he wouldn't be able to fight too much himself, but his skills would be able to recreate the opponent's attacks back at them in certain places, as well as with the traps and stuff like that. It does sound interesting, but they did say that when they actually tried to implement it, it wasn't working well, and it actually turned out to be quite bad, and it would have glitched out a lot really badly. Plus the fact that it wouldn't been able to attack, you would just have to hide somewhere and then run around and then use it, and yeah, that would sound quite boring to some people. I mean, even to me at times, I'd want to play as him, but the fact that I can't fight myself would have put me off a little bit, so I can understand that, to be brutally honest. So that they are the main parts of the game. We really nearly had Abakio. We nearly had Ringo Road again. We possibly had some more people from Moriocho. In the 160 characters that we had before concept was created, we had Bradford and Tarkus, and a whole lot of other characters. They probably might have split some characters up, so we might have actually got part 6 Jotaro as another character, which would have been silly, but I mean, 160 characters. There's understandable. They did say due to balancing. Like I said, they did say due to balancing. That's that. But also, now I'm thinking about it, it might have been Bandai Namco saying, well, we want the game out before the end of the year. Therefore, they thought, oh shit, we've got to do 160 characters. We've got to balance them. We've got to sort everything out. We've got to get online sorted. We've got to get the story sorted by the end of December. And that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. But yeah. So, how do you feel about this news? This is all found in an interview in Ultra Jump. I would love to actually do this. I probably will do this when I start putting up my website, which I plan to do. I'll talk about that much later. Sorry for the nearly 10-minute video, but yeah, I wanted to talk about updates in this anyway. So, hope you have a great rest of Christmas. And, of course, even though it sounded like bye-bye.